In 2018, some friends of mine and I, all of whom were staring 50 in the face, created a video where we answered questions related to our concerns about aging. My own concerns felt both validated and a whole lot lighter. Well, here we are 5 years later, and Nicole and I decided to share that experience and openly reflect on our present mindset. This is Pushing 50 plus 5.
Hi, I'm Cole, and I'm 52 years old.
I'm Akello, and I'm 53 years old.
Yeah, I did share Pushing 50 with some friends, and it's funny because I hadn't turned 50 yet. I was almost there. So we were talking about what it was going to be like, and, just that the number itself just sounds so big. It is half a century.
I shared Pushing 50 with everyone that I knew who had an email address. I also put it on its own website. Eventually, it moved back to my personal website, and I use it as an option for one of our discussion posts in my online sociology classes.
I turned 50 during COVID, and that really is when conversations about age and lifespan were happening on a regular basis, because then it wasn't about age. It wasn't even necessarily about your health, because COVID was obviously happening to everyone in different ways.
But I think overall, people, it didn't open up the kind of dialogue that I was hoping that it did, but it definitely helped me. It helped me. So my conversations and my inner dialogue are still happening.
I was going into 50 feeling pretty confident about my health and things that I'd been doing. But I realized that anything at any moment could take that away. And the friends that I have that have already turned 50, and when I turned 50, were already 50, they were really, I have to say, living life to the fullest already. They did not let 50 all of a sudden change them. Even now, I still kind of feel like I did when I was in my 30s. I mean, I know what my birth certificate says, but I guess 50 doesn't feel like I thought it would. I'm not worried about it. I feel good about it. And if anything, the years have made me more confident than I've ever been. So, yes, I did turn 50 during COVID, and it didn't really change my birthday plans too much because I have never been a big party person. If anything, I like to just do something, special to mark the day. Maybe, I don't know, an activity that I haven't done in a really long time or have never done before. That's my idea of a good birthday. I truly did not want to party, although my family did throw me a surprise Zoom party, which I have to admit I did find out about beforehand, and I appreciate it. It was nice to see everybody, but still, again, not what I would have chosen. I think because when it comes to celebrating certain birthdays, especially 50, some comments are great, and others are just like, why would you say that to someone? And I very much wanted to avoid that. Luckily, my family was lovely, but truly, I did not want to see any, 50 balloons or 50 candles. There's certain things that I could definitely do without, so I'm glad I was able to totally avoid that, and just spend a nice quiet birthday.
So about 2 weeks after, less than 2 weeks after the official COVID lockdown, was my 50th birthday. Um, so I didn't have any plans made because at that time there it hadn't been a full on lockdown, but the pandemic was in the public eye, in the public sphere, and so we didn't really know how to respond. So any plans for that changed. Of course, anything that involves a large party, there's an expense. So, I didn't mind not having that. But what was interesting about my 50th birthday is probably the previous 6 months before I had been feverishly working at finishing my book and getting it published. Not only did I write the book, I edited it as best as I could, and I formatted it. I created the cover art. I created, all of that. I wrote poems that went into the book. It was just a really big effort, and then I had all these big mental plans of having a real life in person, book reading where people came to like a little bookshop and I just kind of romanticize. I'm not a romantic type, but I romanticize the unveiling of my book. And in the same sense, I feel like in this modern day, people are putting so much content out that it's not something exceptional anymore. Oh well, I'm always kind of a little bit late to the game, but I think if I had been born in the 90s, I would be in a different place. But we got to work with what we have. I also had planned to do my first skydiving, and that got postponed for at least 3 months until they were able to figure out they could do skydiving with the mask on, and because you are in close proximity to the people who drive you up in the plane, and then you're doing the tandem, because I have no experience with that. So all that, and then I end up having like kind of a weird pseudo book reading on Instagram Live, and you know, move past it, and there it was.
I think that the pandemic did something kind of interesting for me. For some reason, I think that um, I've always been very aware of death. It's something that pops up a lot of times when I'm about to go to sleep. And I think about either how my day has gone or how things are going in life. And my thought is always, I'm not ready to go yet. I have so much more to do. And experiencing the pandemic where I was seeing a lot of people not have control. Really, none of us did. We didn't know if we were going to get sick or not, and how sick we would get. Um, it, it, the things that I thought that I wanted, and the things that I thought were important for me to have or achieve before I go, did change. There was a certain resolve that I had during the pandemic about really what a good life is and what matters. And I was blessed to not have lost any friends or family. Everybody I know was safe and sound, which was more than I could have asked for. Um, I think that also because my father died in his early 40s, death has been something that I know can happen at any time to anyone for no reason, no warning. I think that now, if I can go through a day, I speak to my loved ones, I spend time with my husband, I can laugh, I can smile, I have a roof over my head, I have good meals, then that's a good day. Then that's a life worth living. And a lot of the other things, yeah, they're not so necessary anymore.
I don't think anybody really talks about that, but I feel like there's just this kind of a PTSD esque aspect of being on the other side of the pandemic, where I think everyone who thought about what happened, and the experience of that, it has been forever changed. I know I have. I mean, lucky for me, I'm a person who does very well by myself, but there's a lot of people who live by themselves who probably had very little access to anybody, and I'm sure that was hard. I mean, it was even hard for me. There was only a couple people that I would spend some time with, but uh, even on the worst days, now, so like my shift in mindset is even on the worst days, the most challenging days, the most pessimistic days, I find myself saying, you could have been one of those people who got the COVID, and I believe I had COVID before it was a pandemic, but I never got tested to see if that was true. But if it did, I did have some of the worst flu I ever had in my life in January of 2020. So that could have been it. Not sure, but I still think about I could have been a person. I could no longer be here. So I'm learning to accept the bad days, the hard days, the difficult days, with the good. Everyone always wants the good, like they're always chasing happiness, and I believe that we got to find a balance between whatever comes in our life and be able to accept it and deal with it whenever it comes. And that's a huge mind shift, I think. Mindset shift, mind shift, if you will. And I dropped this remote control. I gotta come back to this.
What I thought were flaws, or that I thought things about myself I needed to fix, I don't think I actually do.
If something is for you, you will be doing that. And there's little control you have over the result, and it's what you put out there. And if you're putting out there and this is saying, like, this is me, I'm putting myself out there, what I can do, and my skill level can be increased over time.
I'm in no way saying that I am perfect. In fact, I know that I am a flawed person, but I am who I am. And I think that once I began to accept there are certain things about myself that just are, it was a very freeing sensation.
So maybe what I did a year ago, if I redid it this time, it would have a better result. But ultimately, it is all those variables. It's when something takes place, who's doing the judgment, all those variables that I cannot control. All I can control is the thing that I do. And so being able to handle rejection and not take it personally.
I'm not very patient. I never have been. And I think that that's okay. Sometimes I would try to restrain myself, but in some cases, that just doesn't work for me. And I learned that rather than trying to change certain things about myself, I just don't put myself in the situation. People are who they are, just as I realized I am who I am. And in a certain point, there is no fixing. There's just accepting who they are. And if they work in your life, then they do. And if they don't, then you wish them well and let them go on their path. And I think that once I began to realize that certain things just are, that it made everything okay. And it's a way that I can just relax into myself and be myself in a way where I don't have to make any excuses for my choices.
For me, in the last 5 years, has been a very serious back issue that I have been dealing with for a very long time, and actually started getting medical attention about 7 years ago. And I have run the gamut of everything you possibly do: Eastern medicine, Western medicine, everything you possibly do. And now I'm on the precipice of surgery being the next step.
I have experienced some aches and pains out of nowhere. I don't know what that's all about. Sometimes my knees are just aching when it's raining outside, or getting out of bed just seems harder than usual.
My ability to walk started to be impacted.
But I just say to myself, I am not going out like this, and I just keep it moving. I've always been a physically active person. All my life I've been doing something, whether it was track and field, dancing, ice skating, tennis. I love physical activity. Um, Now, during the pandemic, when gyms were closed, yeah, I went for walks, but I did a lot of eating. I think a lot of people did because it was very soothing. I probably was partly responsible for that yeast shortage because I was baking some bread, I have to admit. But because physical activity has always been really important to me, um, when gyms opened back up, I knew at that point that, I really needed to step up my game. Not because I hadn't been working out regularly before. It's just that as you get older, things get more difficult. It's harder to maintain, it's harder to gain muscle. And so I decided that I was really, really going to go for it this time. Um, I'm lucky enough to have a personal trainer as my husband, so I know what to do and I have his guidance, both in uh, the physical part of it and in the nutritional part of it, because that is so important. Um, so, in the last couple of years, interestingly enough, I have gotten stronger than I ever have been in my 20s and 30s. I can do things that I could not do in my 20s and 30s and 40s. Um, and it's kind of surprising to me because you always, hear things about people losing their mobility as they get older or thinking that there's certain things that they can't do. My workouts have definitely changed, um, just out of necessity. I don't want to spend as much time working out as I did before because it does put stress on the body. So I had to find a different way to do it, and I'm really proud of where I am right now. I can finally do pull-ups, and as a woman, you should know that's not the easiest thing to do. Um, and I'm glad that I did not let my age stop me from achieving things with my body and my mind, um, just because of how old I am. And if there's anything that I've learned is that health and nutrition have so much to do with your mindset and putting you in the position to do other things in life. And that is the one thing I have to say I will never let go of.
I think that aging for me was, I thought, something that was going to happen. I hit 70 and then it starts going downhill, but it does start to slowly progress. I think I'm doing pretty good in a lot of areas. Um, I keep up with my health. I have my blood pressure monitored, I cholesterol, all those things. I get a really good blood work and I get a lot of things. I think someone just pulled up. Damn it. Shit. Okay. I think for probably the first time in my life, I really don't have a 5-year plan. I think I'm actually have a 12-year plan and 12-year plan, and I'm trying to focus on retirement and what I want to do after retirement, retiring from teaching in higher education.
I'm still uh, dealing with my 50s, and now I have to start thinking about 60s. Wow, okay. The next 5 years, it's going to be interesting. I think that it's going to depend on what's happening in the world, a lot of it.
I think it's a lot kind of easier to live life to some degree without having these huge expectations about what 5 years would bring or 10 years. I think that also it opens up yourself to the idea that you'll continue to be creative and produce things. And whatever it is that you do, not everybody's creating things. A lot of times there's people that spend a lot of their time in travel and, those kind of things.
My plan really was to start traveling and living in different countries for, several months at a time. There are so many things that I'd like to experience that are outside of the U.S. and that really is my dream and my goal for the next 5 years.
It's those kind of activities. But for me, it's like, what can I bring new to the world that came from my mind into the world, and hopefully to share with other people. So that's always at the top of my head. And the 40s, they go like this.
Well, time waits for no one. Do not put off the things that you want to do or think about, I'll wait till I'll retire. You don't know if you're going to get there. If you don't like your job right now, you're not stuck. Learn something else, do something else. If you don't like where you live, move. Because whether you do those things or not, time is going to pass by.
The best thing they could possibly do is take care of their body, mentally, physically, spiritually.
You are not out of time coming into 50. You honestly can achieve anything that you want to do at that point.
Strengthen the meaningful connections in your life, and the ones that are not so meaningful or more consequential, let them fade away and don't feel guilty about it. People change, everything changes, everything is impermanent, and understanding that helps you relinquish that attachment, which I think could cause a lot of strife and a lot of suffering in people. And so once you're in your 40s, I feel you are very well centered on who you are as a core human being. We can always change, of course, and always do change and evolve, but there's a lot of aspects in those 4 decades of our life. And to be able to go into our 50s feeling confident, feeling physically healthy as much as possible, mentally healthy.
We have been raised to be very materialistic. Really think about what matters, what's important.
Socially adjusted and have evaluated what's most important in life.
Spend your money on experiences. Spend your money on things that will honestly make your life better and your family's life better. It's only here that buying a $10,000 purse makes sense. Don't waste your money on things that don't matter.
And being able to focus energies on that and really taking a closer look at things that are more destructive and that are more harmful to us, and seeing what we can do to alleviate some of that.
Who you are as a person, waking up and looking at yourself in the mirror and being proud of who you are, not what you have, is what matters. And lastly, do not be afraid of getting older. There's nothing wrong with getting older. Every marketing thing that is aimed towards anti-aging is just ridiculous. Of course you want to look your best, but it doesn't mean don't age. It's look the best that you can at this point in your life. You don't have to fix anything. There's nothing wrong with you. Enjoy your life. Enjoy where you have come. Whether you have a lot of money or not, whether you're doing everything you are doing or not. Pat yourself on the back for getting as far as you have. Be blessed to be alive. Because that's all you have is life. Don't waste it.